Hello and welcome to my channel. So if you are wondering if Disney World would be a good option for you if you have really young kids, or if you or anyone in your family or group is not really that much of a thrill seeker, then I'm here to tell you that Disney World is probably like the best place for you to go. There is so much to do for, the rides, attractions, shows. There is so much to do for those of us, because I am one of those non-thrill seeking people, and Disney World is one of my favorite places to go, and that is actually one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite places to go, because there is so much for myself and for my young kids to do as well. So in today's video, we are going to explore all the rides and attractions that are in Magic Kingdom that are perfect for this type of person, whether you're a young child and you don't meet any of the height requirements yet, or again, like you're an older kid or an adult who isn't really too much into the thrill rides. So all of the attractions and rides that I'm going to be talking about today don't have any height requirement. However, some of these rides still might not be the best for a certain type of person, and we're going to go into detail about all the rides and whether or not you might think that it's a good for you or your kids. So aside of the rides and attractions, you also have parades, you have stage shows, and of course you have character meet and greets. So check your My Disney Experience app for the times for those shows and parades. And now they also have the new nighttime parade in Magic Kingdom, which I cannot wait to see. So if you're going to be there at night, definitely check that one out. So before we jump in though, I did want to just introduce myself in case you're new here. I'm Allison, and here at my channel, I like to make all different types of Disney World content, as well as vlogs from our own family vacations. So if that is the type of content that you enjoy watching, definitely hit that red subscribe button so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. So let's get into it. Okay, so we're gonna start in Tomorrowland and just kind of like work our way around the castle into all the different rides and attractions. So first up, we have Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor, which is about a 10 to 15 minute comedy show. It's interactive and it's starring your pal, Mike Wazowski, of course. And it's just a really cute comedy show that's really funny, and like I said, it's interactive. So if you want to, it's not like they're gonna call on you or pick on you to say anything. If you don't want to, you can like raise your hand and someone will come around with a mic so you can be included in the show. And not only is it a great funny show, but it's also a great way to get out of the heat if it's a really hot day. It's nice and air conditioned. And next up we have Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin, which as of this recording, which is about late August 2025, it is currently closed, and it will be closed all the way until 2026. They are redoing the ride vehicles and some of the other things inside the ride, but this one is truly a really great ride for anybody who doesn't like thrills, because all it is just like a car that kind of like goes around, but it's interactive in the way that you need to like blast the targets. So you have like a little shooter and you have to blast the targets as you're going around, and you can like spin the vehicle. It is going to look a little bit different when it opens back up in 2026. So I can't go into too much detail about what the ride is like, because I don't really know yet. Can't wait to experience it. This was my son's absolute favorite ride. He was 2 and he wanted to go on. I think we went on it 3 times. He absolutely loved it. So this was definitely a family favorite for us. And another family favorite for us is the People Mover. This is my #1 favorite ride. And it is literally just almost like a tram car that's elevated, and it goes kind of around Tomorrowland. You get to go through some of the rides. You can see the castle. One thing that I am so glad that I saw before we went for the first time on it, because I don't see too many people talking about this, is that there are a few minutes where it is complete blackness, darkness. You're inside, you're hearing people screaming on Space Mountain. So I am very thankful that I found out about this before I took my young kids, because they do not like the dark. And if that had been a surprise, it would not have been good for them. So what I did was I actually got glow sticks, and we brought our glow sticks on the ride. So this was just a really fun way for them to have some fun in the dark. It almost kind of like took their mind off of it. And so it actually made it really fun, and we wound up going on it a bunch of times. And I think that was one of the reasons, was because we had these glow sticks in that dark part. So I definitely wanted to make sure I said that, because some people really don't like the dark. They don't want to be surprised by the dark, especially since it's not just like a flash. Like, it is a few minutes where you are going through complete darkness. So that is something to think about if you have young kids who really don't like the dark. So, but the glow sticks really did help. And that's one of my favorite rides. And I think the reason is because in the cars, like, you're sitting facing each other. So it's one of the only times that you can go on with like your whole family. If you're, a small family, a family of 4, and you can sit together and face each other and like chat a little bit and enjoy the ride. There's a nice breeze that comes around. So I really that is my absolute favorite ride. So next up, we have the Carousel of Progress, and this is one of the very earlier rides in Disney World. It's been there since the mid 1970s, and this ride really just shows the vision of what Walt Disney wanted when he created Tomorrowland, and his kind of thinking in like the future world. So what you do is you sit in the audience and you get to see different stages of like the past into the present. It was updated in the mid 90s, I believe, to show what the future is going to look like. So, it can seem a little bit cheesy for us now in 2025, but it's just one of those staples that also really just shows the imagination of Walt Disney and what he was all about. So it's one of those ones that it really is a must-see if you're going for the first time. You don't have to go again, but I think it's just one of those ones to really just get what Walt Disney was visioning for his Walt Disney World and, Disneyland. I mean, this was originally made for the World's Fair in the 60s, before Disney World was even around. So, and it also was in Disneyland before it came to Disney World as well, but it really just shows how his imagination worked and what he was thinking when he was creating all of these attractions. So it's just definitely a must-see, I think. And again, it's another one that is a great way for you to get out of the heat and into the air conditioning. So that is what that one is all about. It's good for everybody. And then next we have Astro Orbiter, which is, if you're familiar with like the Dumbo rides that kind of like you sit in a like little vehicle car and it just like kind of goes around slowly. However, Astro Orbiter is a little bit different because it is very high up off the ground. You actually have to go in an elevator to get all the way up to the top. So if anybody in your family is afraid of heights, this is definitely not one that you want to try out. I actually honestly have never even been on it because I'm not too much a fan of heights. It just doesn't, I'd rather go on Dumbo if I'm going to go on one of those rides. But if you have a young child or an older child who likes those kinds of rides but wants something a little bit more adventurous, maybe you can start out with that and see how they do with like kind of being up high and get that feeling. That can kind of give you an idea about how they would do on maybe a roller coaster. So if you do have a child that's looking for a little bit more, that's still in a non-height restriction ride, this one might be a good one to try out. Next up, we have the Tomorrowland Speedway. Now, this is a very slow-paced little race that your kids can actually drive, get behind the wheel. It's on a track, so it's not going to go anywhere. If you're in the car with your kid, you might get bumped back and forth a little bit because if they're doing the wheel like that. But this ride seriously is dear to my heart. I have memories of being in the car with my dad, driving the car with my doll like tucked under my arm. It's one of those nostalgic rides, especially for me. And I absolutely loved being able to go on it with my own kids. My son is absolutely in love with race cars and vehicles and all that, so he absolutely loved this one. One thing to note about this is that it can be very loud, especially when you're waiting in the line, because you're hearing all of the engines. The smell from the gas can be a little bit much. And also it's all out in the sun. So if it's a very hot day, you might want to wait until maybe in the evening to ride it or early in the morning. Because if you're out there and the sun is beating down on you, it can make it a little bit less enjoyable, especially like with the fume smells and stuff like that. So that is something to think about with this one. Okay, so now we're going to head into Fantasyland, and from Tomorrowland, on your way there, you're going to bump into the Mad Tea Party, which is a teacup ride. It's got the teacups that go around in a circle, but you can also spin the teacup, so you're kind of going like this. So for those of you who get motion sickness, get nauseous, this is definitely not a ride for you to do. You could try to just sit in the cup and have it go around without spinning the actual cup. It's slow moving. It's almost kind of like being on a carousel at that point if you're not spinning around. But if you have some younger kids or older kids who want a little bit more of an adventurous ride, this could be one if you can handle it as well. But again, if anybody in your family gets any type of motion sickness, this might be one to skip for sure. And then on your way past the teacups, you're going to find an area called Storybook Circus. Now, this area is definitely geared more towards younger kids. It has the Barnstormer, which is, a kid's coaster. It does have a height limit of 35 inches, so I did not include it in this. But as we come into Storybook Circus, we are going to have Dumbo, which again is just one of those nostalgic rides that, the little elephant car can go up and down as you're spinning slowly around. One thing to note with this is both me and my daughter, who was in a separate elephant than me, they went up and down kind of on their own. You're supposed to be able to control it with like a little lever inside the elephant car. So that is something to consider, that if you absolutely do not want to go up high, you maybe talk to the cast member that's operating the vehicle. They might know which cars or which elephants don't listen to the lever. But I definitely brought my son on there for the first time and told him that we weren't going to go up, and it went up on its own. Thankfully, he was okay with it, but if he wasn't, it wouldn't have been good because I could not get it to go back down. So that is something to think about when going on this ride. You might want to talk to the cast member first, and if they can't give you any, if they can't tell you which ones do and which ones don't, it might be one to skip if you absolutely do not want to go up into the air. So again, for those younger kids, there is the Dumbo playground, which is actually inside the little tent where the line actually goes through it, and you can actually get a buzzer to keep your spot in line and go play in the playground area, and they will buzz you when it's your turn to go onto the ride. You can go into this playground area without going on the ride at all. You can just go on in and play. Again, it's nice and air conditioned, so if you're really hot and your kid needs to get some wiggles out, this is a really good place to go for them to be able to do that. And it's a good place for you too to be able to sit and relax and just watch your kids have some fun inside in the air conditioning. And then when you come out of Dumbo, there is the Casey Jr.'s Splash Play area, which is like, it's like little trains and there's like water squirting out. It's a nice little splash play area. Kids can get absolutely soaked if you let them. So if it's going to be hot and you know that your kids are going to want to do this, you might want to bring an extra pair of clothes, maybe even like a hand towel or something, maybe even water shoes if you're wearing sneakers that don't dry easily. But but that is definitely something to think about. But it's also a really great attraction for those young kids that want to just run around and get wet. This is a really good one for them. They could spend a long time in there if you let them. Okay, so coming out of Storybook Circus, we're going to go towards the back a little bit, and we're going to come to Under the Sea, Journey of the Little Mermaid. Now, this is one of my favorites, mainly because The Little Mermaid is one of my absolute favorite movies. My first ever movie in the theater. So this is one that's dear to my heart. My daughter and my son actually absolutely love this one too. We went on this one maybe 5 times the last time we went. It's one of those slow moving, it's like you're in like a clamshell little vehicle. It's not a vehicle. It's just one of those like slow moving constant ones that I know there's a name for it, and I will think of it, but it's one of those ones where the ride vehicles are constantly moving. So you get on like the little conveyor belt thing, and you just kind of like go into your little clamshell, and it's just one of those rides that it's just, especially if you love Disney and you love the princess movies and all of that, this is just one of those feel-good rides that anybody can go on, and it's just fun. And you have the songs, and you have Ariel. There is a section where Ursula is there. It just goes around kind of quickly, but if your kids really don't like villains, this might be something to prep them on, just saying, Ursula is going to be there, but you're going to go around pretty quickly. One thing to note though is that with these kinds of rides, they can get stalled. Maybe someone needed help getting on or off. And there was one time we went on when we got stuck right in front of Ursula, and my son didn't really like that too much. But so that is something else to think about if your kids really don't like villains. It really is only a very small section of it. Like, I wouldn't discourage you from going on at all. It's just something to kind of prep your kid about if they really don't like villains. So, but this is a really good one, a really fun one for us to go on. So next up we have Enchanted Tales with Belle, and this is actually a very unique interactive show because it is a show, but you are able to become part of the show, which is it's just really, really sweet. They pick people from the audience to come up and be part of the story of Belle and of Beauty and the Beast, and they will bring you up and you can be part of the show. I don't want to give too much away because it really is a very, very cute interactive little show. So again, another way for you to get out of the heat and to get your, especially if you have anyone in your party who loves Beauty and the Beast, this is really a great one to go to. Belle is there, she's there, and she's doing the show with you. So it is really a very unique little show. So next we have The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, which is one of the cutest little rides. I absolutely love it. You go into the little honey pot, and it's going to take you around the story of Winnie the Pooh from the book The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. So if you're familiar with it, I have all the memories of, like, I think it was a movie of The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, like the old one, where he's dreaming of like heffalumps and woozles. It kind of goes through that story. So it's very, very cute. Really good for the young kids and the non-thrill seekers, because all it does is just the same thing, like the car and the honey pot car, and you're kind of going around, and it's a very cute one. We absolutely love that one. And then moving on, we go to Peter Pan, which is a little bit similar with like you're in the car and you're moving around. But the thing about this one is that you're going to kind of go up into the air in your boat. So you kind of go up and you see all of Neverland and London and all of that. It goes through the story of Peter Pan. You can see Captain Hook, and I just love that it kind of goes up into the sky. And this one actually has a very fun queue line. Once you get inside, you're kind of going through like Wendy and the boys, their bedroom, and then it's a very interactive line that kind of makes it a little bit easier to stand in if you don't have a lightning lane or if you're rope dropping. So this is a very good one to go on. So next we have Prince Charming's Regal Carousel, which it's just a carousel. It's very large. It's just, I think there's something enchanting about being on this carousel right behind the castle. You're right in Fantasyland. It's one of those like, so as you can see from this video, I have a lot of nostalgia and just a feel of for when we go to Disney World. So if this is your first time and you're watching this video, you might be kind of like, what is she talking about? Like these feelings, like you'll see when you go there. You'll see when you go there. It's just a magical place, and just being on this carousel in the middle of everything, and you're going around, and it's just one of those things that, you know, you really should just do because, you know, it's a carousel, and it's actually a very, very old carousel. It's actually the oldest, I think it's from like the 1800s. I'll put down an exact date of when it was created, but it's a very old carousel. And so it's just this nice feeling of being on the carousel in the middle of Fantasyland. And then when you come off the carousel, you're going to go to Mickey's PhilharMagic Show, which is a 3D show. If you have young kids who might not be really great with the 3D glasses, they can always just take them off and watch the movie as is. That's what my 2-year-old did. He was not interested in having the 3D glasses on at all, so he just took them off, and he did wind up enjoying the show. My older daughter, who was 8 at the time, she kept them on. So, you know, it really depends on your kid and how old they are, and you know, it depends on everybody. But this is another one to get out of that heat, into the AC, and just enjoy a nice show. So next we're going to go to It's a Small World, which is a nice long boat ride through the attraction, and it's going to have a nice catchy tune. If you aren't already singing it, you probably need to go on it again so that you get it stuck in your head the second you hear about it. But it's, again, a nice, cute little ride. You know, my son was pointing at everything as we were going. You know, it's just a cute little one to go on. You know, and that's what a lot of these are. It's just a cute little fun ride that, you know, it's one of those things where when you're thinking about it outside of Disney World, you're like, oh, that, you know, that sounds kind of cheesy or silly. But when you're there and you're in it and you allow yourself to be immersed in all of it, then you will enjoy it. And especially if you don't like the thrill rides, these ones are really just really cute and fun to go on, especially when you're with your family. If you have kids, you know, it's just fun seeing them doing it as well. So these are just some of those rides that just give you that nice little, like, oh, this is so cute, you know, a little ride like that. So next we're going to head into Liberty Square. There are 2 ride attractions in Liberty Square. The first one is the Hall of Presidents. This is a show with animatronics that show all the different presidents throughout history. It was, again, another way to get out of the heat into the AC. You know, it's a nice show to go to. It's not my favorite. I find it a little boring, but if it's your first time, definitely go just to see what it's all about, and as a way to get out of the heat. And now the other one in Liberty Square is Haunted Mansion. So Haunted Mansion is one of those rides where if you have if the people in your party that are, you know, fall into the group of young kids or non-thrill seekers, this one can kind of get a little tricky, because if you have non-thrill seekers who don't like scary things, the Haunted Mansion is not scary as in, like, you know, you're gonna get terrified. But if you don't like scary things, especially young kids who don't like scary things, you might want to pass on it until they're at least a little bit older. My kids wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. We didn't even attempt to go on it. The one part before you get into the actual ride car, which is the stretching room, that can be kind of scary for little kids, and you can actually ask to avoid that room. You can just tell a cast member that you'd like to avoid the stretching room, and they will bring you straight into where the rides are, where you get onto the ride. And so yeah, the stretching room it can be a little scary. So, or if you are like claustrophobic and you know, you don't like those kinds of things, things, you might just want to pass on that part if you're interested in seeing what the rest of the ride is all about. So, it's just one of those things to think about. Your family and your kids best on whether or not you want to avoid it. I chose to avoid it because my kids they don't like any type of, scary or even just kind of like, I just knew it wouldn't be good for them. So we went ahead and skipped it. And now we're going to go into Frontierland, which has one of my favorite shows, which is the Country Bear Jamboree. They recently updated this show. It used to have original songs, but now they are actually singing Disney songs, which honestly, I actually prefer the new updated version, even though the old version is very nostalgic for me. I mean, I remember going as a kid and loving it. My parents remember going, and loving it, but I actually really like what they did with it. They kept the same feel. The songs are being sung in, their own type of like country, like, way of doing it, which makes it really nice. And I absolutely loved it. I'm a Disney girl. I love the Disney movies and all the songs, so it was really nice to actually hear something with all the Disney songs in it, and having these cute little bears singing it made it all that much better. So I actually really like the upgrade. So this is definitely one to check out. So that is actually it for Frontierland, because the other ones in Frontierland are like the bigger rides like Tiana's and Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. So the only one without a height limit is actually the Country Bear Jamboree. So now we're going to head into Adventureland, and the first one here is the Pirates of the Caribbean. So this is another, it's not really as like scary as the Haunted Mansion, but I can tell you that my two kids, as well as the other family that we were traveling with, their two kids were terrified of this ride. All of them had their heads buried in their grown-ups. They were terrified of it. So this is one of those ones where, your kids, if they're very young and they love adventurous types of things, they already like pirates, this is one to bring them on to. But yeah, even for me, I mean, I said that I'm not a thrill seeker. I really don't like big roller coasters or anything like that. There is a little bit of a dip in this ride, like in the beginning. It's very small, but I mean, it makes my stomach churn. So if you don't like any type of like that feeling where you're gonna go down a hill, it does have that in there. Again, it's not a big drop, but coming from someone who doesn't like drops, that one does get me. I will still go on it. Even though that little drop does get me, I will still go on it. But since I know it's coming, I can kind of prepare myself. So I did just want to mention, if you're like me and you need to be prepared for those types of things, you're prepared now. You know that it does have a little drop, because if you talk to anybody else, they're going to say, oh, it's nothing. But for someone who doesn't like any type of that feeling, it's not nothing. It's small, but it's not nothing. You do still feel the drop as you're going down. But Pirates of the Caribbean is definitely a classic. It's definitely one that can give you nostalgia if you've been there before. But again, your family best, your kids best. It can be one that you kind of bring them on to see how they do. They can be like my kids and just kind of bury themselves in you if they don't like it. But yeah, so that is the deal with Pirates of the Caribbean. So next we have the Tiki Room, which is a very cute little show with bird animatronics. I absolutely love this show. This was one of my son's favorites. He absolutely loved it. This is one that I also remember going as a kid. My parents loved this one as well. So it's just one of those little cute shows where you can really appreciate the animatronics and how great they are, and the fact that this was made like a long time ago, and it's still just like, it's so cool seeing all of these like little animatronics that really bring the show to life. So this is definitely one to check out. Just so you know, you can bring your Dole Whip into the show. So go head on over to Aloha Isle, grab your Dole Whip, and go check out the Tiki Room because it's a good show. So now we have the Magic Carpets of Aladdin, which is very Dumbo-esque. You know, it's just another one of those little twirly rides where you're up in a magic carpet and you're going around. The only difference with this one is that you can actually fit 4 people in each little car. There's 2 in the front, 2 in the back, or 3 if they're small. So it's the same idea of it going around and up and down. There is a camel there that can spit water at you. So it's not guaranteed that it's going to happen, but it can happen. So that is just another one of those spinny rides that's like Dumbo. So it's not one of those ones where, you know, if you miss it, it's going to be awful. I do suggest going on one of them, you know, whether it's Dumbo, Astro Orbiter, or Magic Carpets. I personally would always recommend Dumbo just because it's Dumbo. But, you know, if you have kids that would really prefer going on the Magic Carpets because they love Aladdin or they love Jasmine, you know, go ahead and go on it. But it's not one to, like, you know, sit in line for an extended period of time for, but it's still a nice, cute little ride to go on. And then we have the Jungle Cruise, which is one of my absolute favorites. You're in a boat, you're going around like a safari, water safari. The animals are fake. They're animatronic animals. It's the skippers that are driving the boats are known for their comedy. And you know, they've got a lot of puns that they like to do, but it's one of those really fun little boat rides that you're going to go around, and it's one of my favorites, absolutely one of my favorites. And then also in Adventureland is the Swiss Family Treehouse, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a big giant treehouse where you can go up the steps. If you've ever seen the movie Swiss Family Robinson, this is what this is based on. It used to be one of my favorite movies as a kid. So, you know, seeing the treehouse like they would have had it is really fun. It's just, you know, you don't have to wait in a line or anything like that. You just kind of like go up the stairs, check it out, go around, come down. It's just like a cute little thing to do with, you know, if you're trying to wait for a lightning lane, or if you're waiting for a parade to start or a show or something like that. It's just a nice little way to kind of, you know, it's just another little attraction to go on. But there are just so many things to do in Magic Kingdom, as you can see. So that does it for this video. If this helped you in any way, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to make one of these videos for each of the different parks. So definitely stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.